All right, in this video I will show you how to create a Cinemagraph using a video. These videos are found on Pixabay and they are free to use. You're going to click on your video and then you're going to download it. And then once it's downloaded, you will open it in Premiere Pro. And we're going to go into Premiere and I'm going to double click on the import area there and find my video to import. Now I'm going to drag the video over to the timeline, and then I can click play, and then I'm going to right click on that and do set to frame size just to make sure that it is the correct size there and everything is not cropped. Everything's playing through. I'm going to trim this down. I want my Cinemagraph to be less than 10 seconds, so I'm going to use the razor blade to cut it, and I'm going to just go ahead and click on that extra and press delete on my keyboard, and now I have a shortened clip. I'm then going to select the clip and duplicate it or copy it. So you want to make sure you select it and then do Control-C, or you can go to Edit, Copy, and then move your scrubber over to a blank area and do Edit Paste or Control-V to paste. You want these two videos to be on two separate layers or tracks, basically, one on top of the other. The top one we're going to turn off the visibility on, and the bottom one we're going to click on and then right click and go to Add Frame Hold. And so now that bottom one is frozen, nothing should be moving. Now I'm going to click on the top track and I'm going to make sure my effect controls is open. If you don't see it, you can go to Window and then choose Effect Controls. I'm going to click on Opacity and then the pen tool, and now we are going to mask out the area that we want to have movement. So I'm just going to do the bottom portion of this. I'm just clicking around using the pen tool. Most of you should already know how to use the pen tool at this point, and I'm just going to include everything I want to be moving in my video. In this case, I'm not going to have the waterfalls moving, just the water in the foreground. And then by joining it back up, I've now basically created a mask that will show the movement through it. I just had to turn that track back on. There we go. So I can see that there's movement now, but the waterfalls themselves are no longer moving. So now I've isolated that movement using the mask. This looks really good. I'm happy with it. If you do need to adjust the mask, you can do that just by going back to your pen tool and adjusting those points. I'm going to make sure my loop playback is on, so I just click the little plus sign there and click on the loop playback. You can click and drag that over into your toolbar, and we're going to keep using that throughout because we want this eventually to be a looping animated GIF. It's not an animated GIF yet though. We are actually going to export this as an MP4 file, and we're going to turn it into a seamless Cinemagraph essentially. So now we're going to go to export. I'm going to give it a name. I'm just going to call it Waterfall. And once you give it a name, then you can go in and make sure that the location is appropriate. I like to save to my downloads. And then the format should be H.264, which is MP4 format, and you can click export from there. And this can take a little bit of time depending on the size of the video, but for the most part, if you trimmed it down, it should take about a minute. Once it's done exporting, we're actually going to click and drag on that timeline, and we're going to highlight those two tracks there, and we'll press delete on our keyboard. So you'll see me doing that shortly. The reason why we're doing this is because we're going to import that video back in as just one track, and we're going to turn it into a seamless GIF. So now I'm going to click and drag. I will press delete on my keyboard. And now I'm going to double click in that area to import that video we just exported. So Waterfall MP4, I'm going to drag that in. Again, when you are playing it on loop, you're going to see it's a little bit jarring. So we're going to trim that down. So I'm just going to cut it in half, and we're going to swap places here. So we're going to take the ending part of the video and we're going to put it at the beginning. So I'm just going to drag them around here to the right, and I'll bring the ending to the beginning and then the beginning to the end. Just swapping places. And then I'm going to extend this out so I can see more of the track, because we're going to have to do a cross dissolve. You'll see when I play here, it's a little bit jarring. It kind of jumps, does like a little blip. It looks like a glitch. So we need that to be a little bit smoother. And we're going to find that under our effects panel and our video transitions. And then we will do the drop-down menu for dissolve. And you should find cross dissolve, which then you can click and drag and bring over to where you cut that clip in half. Go ahead and click OK if it gives you a little warning, not a big deal. And we're going to extend this cross dissolve out, because the more you have, the more seamless it's going to be. So I'm just going to extend it out a little bit. You don't need to do the entire clip or anything, but nice and even on both sides. So now when I go to play it, it should be relatively seamless. I'm not going to see any weird glitches or blips or anything. It's moving fairly smoothly into the next clip without us even knowing. And since I have loop playback on, I kind of have an idea of what that's going to look like as an animated GIF. We're going to export here. So you're going to give it a new name if you want. Go ahead and double check your saving location. I realized mine wasn't going to let me do that, so I just added waterfall 2, I think is what I called it. And the format this time is going to be animated GIF. So not GIF, animated GIF, because you want it to be moving and you want it to be looping. GIF will not work. So animated GIF is what you're looking for. And then you will go ahead and click export. Once you've clicked export, then it should export as a GIF. And I always recommend double checking that it actually did export correctly. So you can go into your file location, whichever location you chose, double click on it, and then it should be playing as a GIF that's looping. So in a minute, you're going to see me do that. And then I know that I have successfully completed this project. There we are. Now I can double check. And everything is looking awesome. The water is moving, but the waterfalls are not. And that's a Cinemagraph.